Once you've mastered the setup and the takeaway, it's time to get us all the way to the top of the backswing. If you haven't mastered the setup and takeaway yet, you're not ready for this video. Do the right thing, master the takeaway first, and then come back for this video once you've mastered that piece, because you need to have a perfect takeaway to set up a backswing to make it simple to get to the top in the right positions. I'm going to walk you through the exact same progression that I use when I teach students in person so that you can get the exact same experience and understand exactly how you need to work through the backswing to get into a perfect position at the top every time without any problems. There's two techniques that I use. The first one is progression or stacking. What that means is I'm going to make things really simple at first, and then each time we master a simple little piece of the backswing, I'm going to stack another piece on there to make it more challenging. The second piece is I'm going to use isolationism. And what that means is I'm going to take all the distractions away at first. There's going to be no club, no ball, none of that. So we're really just focusing on movement, because that's really what we're trying to do. We're not trying to hit a perfect golf shot or have a perfect contact or impact position yet. We're trying to learn a new movement pattern. And that's critical, so that you take what position the club face is in and realize all you're trying to do is create a new movement pattern, and that's it. And so I'm going to show you exactly how we do that. So the first thing I'm going to do is get rid of the golf club. So don't need that yet, that's just a distraction, okay? So here's the first thing that we're going to do. Before we actually start the movement, I want you to understand a concept. And this is critical that you understand this, because this will affect your vision or what you conceive the golf swing to be. And once you understand what your preconceptions are and how they may be flawed a little bit, you'll understand why people end up in the typical positions that we see every day on the lesson tee. So the first thing I want you to think of is that when you're looking at the golf swing from down the line, there are two dimensions basically. You're going to think of vertical movement in the golf swing and around movement, rotation. So when I demonstrate this for my students, what I'll typically do is put a shaft down the line in the middle of my body here and tell them that anything behind this shaft would be in the depth dimension, and then anything moving straight up and down would be in this vertical dimension. Where most people go wrong with the backswing is that they try and move their arms and club into this depth dimension. And so when they do that, that's how you end up really flat and deep and in a bad position at the top. What you need to think of is that you never move your arms into this depth dimension. All the arms are doing is moving in this vertical dimension, and that's it. Now technically that's not exactly what happens, but that's what 99.9% of the students need to focus on and feel in their golf swings. So what you're going to do is to get into this depth dimension, because obviously the club's going to end up behind us, that is handled through rotation. So now as I turn, that moves my arms, starts to move them into this depth dimension. It's done by rotation, not by me taking my arms and swinging them across my body. That's going to end up with a flat swing. So what your arms do is that they feel as if they're only moving straight up and down in this vertical dimension. And as I'm doing this, this is when our first drills are going to start. It feels like I'm just moving my hands straight up and down over my head. That's it. They're not moving this way. They're moving straight up and down. So when I put these two together, vertical movement and depth movement, rotation, here's what it looks like. So I'm going to only do vertical movement while rotating. And when you put the two together, you start to create a golf swing and a swing plane. But all I'm doing is this with this. When you start to understand now is that my hands and arms always feel like they're out on this side of the shaft, never into this deeper dimension. They feel like they're going straight up and down in front of my body while my body turns. So that's the concept of the golf swing, of the backswing, is that your arms are always on this side of the shaft. You never move them into this dimension. They do get there. You can see that my hands are now behind the shaft, but they got moved there by the rotation of my body. Okay, so that's the first concept that I want you to understand. Now let's get to work doing some drills. It's very important that you follow along with me and go through the drills with me. It doesn't do you any good to just sit here and watch this video. I need you to get up out of your chair and follow along with me, because this is important. So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to isolate down to the simplest movements that we can create during the backswing. And that is this what we call shoulder elevation in the backswing, and it's very little. This is how much my arms are going to move. I'm starting them at belt high and moving them up about to the base of my chest, where the bottom of my elbow is just below the bottom of my pectoral muscle. Tiny amount of movement vertical. You'll notice that my hands are staying straight in front of my sternum of my buttons on my shirt, and that's it. From this dimension, I'm standing straight up, hands are about belt high, and they're elevating to the bottom of my chest. This is what happens during the backswing, okay? So once you can do this, we're ready to add the next piece in. Now a lot of people, if you're going to be doing this, we're in trouble. So it's just straight up and down, vertical movement only. Now what I want you to do is move your hands to the base of your chest and then fold your right arm. Notice that my elbow and my shoulder are in alignment. And right now my wrist is in alignment. Later on we're going to add a little bit of rotation. But for right now, elevation, flexion is how you're going to learn the basic movements of the arms. This is it. From down the line, elevation, flexion. Notice that I didn't collapse my right arm, because when we add the left hand in here in a second, that would cause my left arm to fold. So I'm just going here, a little bit of flexion. It's not a lot of movement. Now, I'm going to do elevation. I'm going to grab my left thumb, and I'm going to fold my right arm. This is the vast majority of what's happening in the backswing. Notice that as I'm doing this, notice that my left wrist is flat and perpendicular to the ground. This would be parallel, this is perpendicular. As I fold my right arm, notice that my left wrist is now on an inclined plane. It's at an angle. This is because I'm allowing my left arm to rotate slightly as I go back. This will set the club on plane. If I didn't do this, the club shaft would be too steep. So elevation, flexion, and now my hand would be on plane as I let that rotate. Notice that my right elbow is still in front of my shoulder, and the left elbow is above the right elbow. The other critical piece here is to notice what I call the right elbow pit. My elbow pits at address and neutral joint alignment would face straight away from me, not in like this. That's not good posture, that's not normal. Everybody's elbows face out this way if we took all the muscles off you. So as I elevate, my arms come across to the center, there's a little bit of internal rotation, but we want to try and keep this right elbow pit always facing out away from us. That's going to be very critical when we get into the rest of the backswing. So elevation, grab the left thumb, flexion, we got a great backswing. Okay, now as I mentioned, there's going to be a little bit of rotation here. We're not going to worry about this so much for now. Just here, get that elbow and wrist, shoulder in alignment. From down the line, we've got elevation, flexion. Notice that there's not a great deal of bend in my right arm. I want to feel like I have a lot of width and my hands are out away from me. I'm not trying to rip my thumb back into my shoulder. It's here, and that's it. That's the basic movement of the arms, okay? So now what we're going to do, once you can do that correctly and watch yourself in a mirror that you look just like I did there, now what we're going to do is we're going to stack another piece on there. So what we're going to do is we're going to do rotation with our elevation and flexion. So we're going to make it a little bit more challenging. What we're going to do here is elevation, flexion. Now, because you should have already mastered your setup by now, you should know how to hinge from the hip and get into a right position. And you should have already done 5 minutes to perfect rotation, so I should be able to tell you how to rotate. I shouldn't have to tell you how to rotate at this point. Rotate to the top, and now I'm in the right position. Stand up again, elevation, flexion, posture, rotation. That's it. This is how you check your backswing every time. Stand straight up, elevation, flexion, get into your posture, rotation.